Okay.
Hello.
Oh, here we go.
Welcome to Buffalo Plus.
1 second.
Dan's on his way back. He's
I was
here.
gonna say, that's Mike, in
Yes.
case you didn't know. We're going to be talking Bills Raiders.
Yeah.
Recapping the Bills Jets and our predictions, picks, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all had a ton of fun watching Monday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such fun. Plus,
Such
if you're
fun.
you may see, if you're on the channel now, you see the latest podcast is out.
Yes. It got spicy.
Yes, it was
A little
good.
Spicy on the Buffalo Plus
good.
YouTube channel.
Hoodie's
Be
back.
sure to.
It's fall weather.
It is fall weather.
It is.
I feel like this is the last week I can wear this dress, so we're going to do that. Right? Did you?
Right
I would be.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football. Brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome into Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, Dan Fetes. I am Jenna Cottrell. The Bills getting ready. Home opener against the Raiders. We're going to talk all about it. We're also going to talk about where this team is now after that Week 1 loss to the Jets. So, Mike, let's get into it. This Bills team, they want to turn the page after that loss to the Jets. And how do they do that now heading in?
Well, I think they've spent this week trying to recognize what went wrong, right? That's what you need to do. It's good to turn the page. It's good to get past it, but you got to figure out what went wrong. And there were a lot of things that went wrong in that first game. Hey, the best, the old John Madden line, the best deodorant is winning a game. That's what you got to do. You got to go out, you got to beat the Raiders, you got to play well, and then you got to move on from that. It's going to be hard, Dan, to get away from that Jets game. It's a divisional loss. The team looked bad. A lot of things went the wrong way.
We joked heading into week 1 that don't overreact.
I know.
Hey, everybody, we failed. I just want to let everybody know we failed. Okay, and I love the line that you always say, in the NFL, either you're humbled or about to be humbled, or it's you win or you panic. And right now, it's a little bit of that panic vibe going on around.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely is because of what we saw in that game against the Jets. The fact that there was 4 turnovers, Josh Allen, 3 interceptions, the fumble as well. And Dan, this is something that we saw last season, at the end of last year, some of that recklessness, the carelessness with the football. And I think that is what fans are really concerned about, because we've seen this before and it still doesn't seem like the message is sinking in.
Yeah, we've seen this before, and it also goes back to the point of all off-season, Josh talked about how he was going to take better care of the ball, how he was going to take care of his body, how he was going to limit those turnovers. And as you see, he threw 3 interceptions, 2 of them really bad. And then he's hurdling over defenders in the second quarter, coming up 12 yards short of a first down. Josh Allen experience, as we have called it and kind of coined it, is a roller coaster. There are highs and lows. And this week, we talked to Josh Allen about how can you take some of that back while also being who he is. This is what he had to say.
You know, it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes we get away with it, and sometimes it's the greatest play ever. Sometimes it happens the other way, like it did Monday night. And I understand. I want to be smarter. I want to help this team win football games. I don't want to put the ball in harm's way or in jeopardy. And just trying to, again, trust that and trust the guys on the field with me, and just knowing when and where to do it and when not to do it. And again, that's a learning process that takes a long time. And I'm year 6 in this league, and I should know better when to do that. And now I gotta, like I said, gotta go out there and I gotta prove that.
I know we've had this conversation before with Josh about being more of a quote-unquote game manager. And that gets a negative connotation to be this check down, captain check down. But there is a fine line. And I remember talking to Josh about it, and he said that, you still have to be aggressive. I don't think you're ever going to be able to fully take hurdling Josh Allen out of Josh Allen. That is who he is, right?
Yeah, you've told this story about when he was at Wyoming and his coach said he threw a touchdown, and then the coach said that play was supposed to go a different way, and he's like, Brett Favre says touchdowns first. I talked to a guy today, huge Brett Favre fan, and he said it never changed. That's what you got in Brett Favre. Those kind of guys, the gunslinger, the good and the bad that goes with him.
Guys don't change.
You laugh so knowingly when that happens. But the idea is, but here's what I'm going to tell you is, that's what kept Brett Favre from being even a greater player than he was. Because he didn't evolve. You know who knows how to game manage and also threw over 50 touchdowns in a year was Tom Brady,
Yeah,
the greatest
pretty
of all
good.
time.
Yeah.
There are great players who know when to dial it down. I would say this. You know what? We showed a little bit there. We talked a lot about the turnovers. We didn't focus as much on the hits he took. He took a
Also unnecessary.
tremendous amount of punishment in that game.
Yeah.
And it's not on the offensive line.
Nope.
Some of it, of course, always is. But there are times you reference that one run. And there one when he fumbled the ball, but they ruled it dead.
Yeah.
Josh, let the play end. Sometimes you just got to let the play end. You're not going to get the first down. In fact, all that would have been was a turnover, and he takes too much punishment on his body. That leads to mistakes also.
And that's what the concern is, because he is in year 6. And
Yeah.
we talked about this on the Buffalo Plus channel. Like, how much of this is just who Josh is and he's unwilling almost to make those changes? But at the same point, Sean McDermott talked about it this week. How do you have and keep Josh Allen's confidence high while also addressing the fact that he does need to evolve, he does need to protect the football, and he does need to protect himself as well?
Just like with any athlete, we try and attack the problem from a lot of different angles, or the challenge from a lot of different angles, and help the player, in this case Josh, as much as we can. And then there's a piece where he has to do it on his own too. We can only do so much, and then he's got to make the adjustment on his own as well. So this game and this team mean a lot to him, and that game he wants back, like we all do. And so I just know when he's had situations like this come up before, he's reset and rebounded and come out better the next game because of it, and that's what we're focused on now.
And that's got to be the focus. But at the same point, Dan, this is something that like I said, we've talked about this before. At what point is it just, hey, you got to make this change?
And look, the national media has had a field day this week talking about, oh, this is why Josh Allen is who he is. Like, no. There's a fine line between being able to criticize Josh Allen and saying he needs to grow and one of those things. But Dan Orlovsky of ESPN, I thought, did a phenomenal job. And he talked about how Josh needs to grow up this week and that somebody needs to sit him down and tell him to grow up. And he told a story about when Gary Kubiak was his head coach at the time. And he said he threw an interception in practice. And he pulled him aside and said, when you hold the ball in your hand, you don't only hold your job in your hand. You hold all of our jobs in his hands. You hold the hopes and dreams of fans. You hold the hopes and dreams of an organization. Like, I got chills thinking about that. Like, that is the pressure that is on your shoulders as an NFL quarterback, and that's what Josh needs to realize.
And you keep in mind, Dan Orlovsky's a big fan of Josh Allen,
That's
too.
what he said. He goes, he loves him. He
absolutely.
goes, just needs to grow up.
Yeah. And somebody needs to tell him that. And, you know, that can come from coaches. And maybe it is Ken Dorsey. You got to be tougher with him. We know Brian Daboll was at the time. The other guy who could probably tell him that is Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs has been, well, the best player on this team. No doubt about it, right? Certainly was in the game on Monday night when he caught 10 passes, was targeted 13 times. But Diggs talked this week about the whole group. And even though he got most of the targets, he's pretty confident in the guys around him and that will come through starting with the game against the Raiders.
I mean, I feel like we'll mix it up. I mean, like I said, we don't have a shortage of talent on this offense. I feel like we got a lot of guys that can make plays. But it also, like, it feels like, damn, like what direction we want to go in. We got so many weapons. So I feel like it's a good spot to be in. Week to week, you don't know what you're going to get or how it's going to show up. So for me, hopefully I'm out there mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, you can say that. You don't know what you're going to get. But what you got was a lot of Diggs because there was no second receiver in the game. And look, it's only 1 week.
Yep.
And we don't know how much of that was game plan, how much of that was players not getting open, how much of that was Josh maybe looking at times more for Diggs. But, Dan, you can't win that way. You need the other guys.
We went in this offseason saying there needs to be that Robin to Diggs' Batman. Like they need a number 2 wide receiver. And there really wasn't something, once again, consistent to go along. We've joked around about it before. Gabe Davis, what they need is a 5 for 70 guy. 5 catches, 70 yards. You can pencil it in every single time.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten it.
No.
Again, Dalton Kincaid looked good. James Cook caught some passes out of the backfield, but not able to get anybody else really involved. Gabe, only 2 catches. Trent Sherfield, nowhere to be seen. Deontay Hardy, just a couple catches.
That's the thing. Someone to take the pressure off of Diggs, off of Allen, to give that other element too. Because, Dan, we talked so much just about how much that opens up the rest of the field when you can have and share the ball and kind of get everyone involved.
Sean McDermott was asked about it on Tuesday. How important is it? He says we need it. Whether it's a wide receiver a running back or a tight end. They need somebody to be there to take some of the pressure off of Diggs. Now, he did say it's only one ball and Steph's got to get his, which is 100% true.
Oh, yes.
But how about another threat for a defense to have to worry about?
Yeah, you need the Raiders sitting in their meeting rooms this week going, who else do we need to stop?
Absolutely.
Because if you're the Raiders, you're thinking about Allen and Diggs. That's what you're thinking about. Give them somebody else to worry about. Maybe that changes this week.
Someone else to step up as well. All right, we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're talking all about the Raiders and what this Vegas team will be against Buffalo.
Dan Scott, we're going to get some comments.
My IFB
Is crackling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so IFB, for people watching on the YouTube channel,
What does
is
it stand for?
It's interrupt frequency something. I don't know. I've worn one for 35 years, and I don't know what it means, but they say your IFB. It's right here. What that is not only the sound off the television coming back to us, but it's also the producers in our ear or directors telling us things like,
How
Jenna,
much
hurry
time?
up, or Mike, great point that you just made.
They don't,
right?
they don't say that.
Say that sometimes. What do you got, Dan?
Phil Lawson says you can leave Dan out of the camera. That's very
Wow,
nice.
Phil.
All right.
Phil.
Phil.
Bunch of people agreeing that we're on point, #1 podcast.
Oh, that's sweet.
Look up.
Rusty, our director, is.
There it is. Brett Favre had a good year in Minnesota. Somebody saying that he needs to grow up. They have Diggs and a bunch of #3 and #4 wide receivers.
Until they prove otherwise, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
If Josh does what Brett did, we would take it. Josh just needs to bring one ring home to the Bills. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why Josh is treated differently than guys like Mahomes, guys like Burrow, guys like Hurts. Those guys have been to Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So when they have a bad game, they get passes.
They get more of a pass. Yes.
That's
Josh
true.
hasn't earned that yet.
I think he will.
I
still
think he will as well.
But he needs.
It's tough until he does.
Phil
That's the thing.
also had a nice comment. Appreciate
That's
it, Phil.
nice.
Off the top of my head, hard to remember back-to-back bad Josh games. And Sean McDermott did talk about that whenever Josh has had one of these moments, he has been able
bounces
to bounce
back.
back.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back for the show. All right, welcome back to Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris. All right, gentlemen, we're going to talk about the Raiders and what this team is, but also I do want to mention the Bills pass rush that we saw in Week 1, because I think that's one of the bright spots fans probably want to hear
Buffalo
about.
plus positive.
And talk about as well. But that was something that, Mike, I was impressed by.
Yeah, now this is the play, where Aaron Rodgers' season came to an end, but I got to tell you, Leonard Floyd was quick off the ball. He was what the Bills hoped he was coming in. And on the other side, Dan, Greg Rousseau looked fantastic, I thought.
He looked the part. He looked like he's continuing to mature. That gunpowder and gasoline that he's keeping eating. Even Shaq Lawson got after Zach Wilson a couple times, was able to push the pocket, was able to disrupt. Again, positives.
Yeah.
The defense looked pretty solid, the pass rush included. I know you can't take out the one bad run that Breece Hall had.
Yeah.
But still, I think Sean McDermott in his first time was fine as defensive coordinator.
And we can't mention that Breece Hall run without talking about Christian Benford.
Yeah.
And him
Phenomenal.
chasing down Hall.
Phenomenal.
He moved. He got moving down the field.
A little inside baseball. We were in the press box, and Mike and I were like, wow, I did not know Christian Benford was that fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it was phenomenal to see him chase him down and save
Especially
the Bills.
at our angle, because
Yeah.
when you're in the press box, we're way up high. You can see the 100 yards.
Yeah.
And it looked like Hall was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here comes Benford flying in.
That was a great play.
Yeah, it was a great play.
Talking about the Bills defense, they will have the Raiders in town for this one. Jimmy G, what stands out to you, Mike, about him?
He's the 180 from Josh, right?
Oh.
He's
Yeah.
not flashy.
Yep.
He has won, though. He's gotten to a Super Bowl, nearly got to another one.
Oh, yeah?
Look,
Overthrew Emmanuel Sanders.
he is
Yeah.
a game
We were there.
manager. Yes, we were at that game,
Yeah.
yes. He's a game manager. He's not going to do the crazy things. He's also not going to do the spectacular things. He is a good football player. His one-loss record, and we know that doesn't always go on the quarterback, it shouldn't, is spectacular. The guy wins games. He's 1-0 with this Raiders team this year coming in. Look, you win games with Jimmy. You don't win because of him.
Correct.
But you win games with him, and I think the Raiders are pretty confident in it.
He is good enough to beat good teams. Like,
Yeah.
he is competent enough because for what the Bills' flaws were especially, look, Zach Wilson has beaten the Bills a couple times because Zach Wilson doesn't shoot himself in his foot.
Right.
That is what Jimmy G will not do either. So again, I think this could be a rock fight if Josh were to play smart. But again, Jimmy's not going to light up the scoreboard against this Bills defense.
No, but he doesn't make those mistakes. That's the thing.
Well, in their run game, Josh Jacobs. I mean, Mike, he didn't have a fantastic game against Denver, but at the same point, you know what he can add and how explosive he can be.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is a guy who, we have seen him be one of the top running backs in the entire NFL, and he can really control a game.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that, we've talked about the top running backs in the league, and maybe because he's playing for the Raiders, people don't pay as much attention, but he's put up the numbers. So we had a chance to talk to a guy who works for the Raiders, a national radio host. He goes by the name JT the Brick. He's been around a long time, and I asked him about Jacobs and the impact he could have.
Can Jacobs take over a game against Buffalo if they get him going?
Absolutely. He took over several games last year for the Raiders, leading the league in rushing. He had an unbelievable year. So if they can get him going, and this is a pretty good offensive line that's back and intact. Last year, this offensive line was an experiment, a work in progress. They brought everyone back, and they had the leading rusher in the league. If the Raiders can establish the run with Josh Jacobs, that'll keep Josh Allen on the sideline, and the Raiders can eat some of that clock. And that would be great for the Raiders.
So I was actually on his radio show in Las Vegas, and they were saying, hey, do you think what happened with Josh Allen this week is going to impact the game plan? Because they're afraid the way the Raiders play offensively and defensively, that if Josh comes out slinging the ball, moving it down the field, they can run the Raiders off the field.
Yeah.
And I said, I think maybe it could be a little more conservative.
I agree.
And they love that.
Yeah.
At least the impression of the Raiders is they want to see a little less of the Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Something to think about this week. Heading into week 2, defenses will never be more tired and more sore than what they are right now. They haven't had that beating on their body throughout training camp. This is the first week that they are trying to recover. A ground game can exploit things. Expect a lot of overs for those people that like totals. Overs in week 2 because defenses are well rested in week 1. This is a week where offenses seem to get back on track. Defenses are sore. They're not used to recovering in those 5 days after a physical time. We saw guys cramping on the sidelines for the first game.
We did.
Difference there. So again, Jacobs could be a monster in this game.
And game plans. I mean, defensively, usually teams, you pretty much know what they have been offensively. Teams stick to their strength. They come up with plans. You got the whole offseason to worry about game number 1. So it is a little different in game number 2.
That is true, but the one player that really stands out to me on that Raiders defense is Max Crosby. And he talked this week about what he sees from his defense and how he thinks this team will be heading into week 2.
It's a testament to all the guys in this locker room. We've been doing it all OTAs. We've been doing it all camp, and now we got to go out there and show the world, that we're improving. We still got a lot of room to grow, myself and everybody included. We got to get better, but I think we're off to a good start. Like you said, the second half, I think we allowed 3 points. So we just got to keep improving. We got guys communicating at all 3 levels, and that's you see it on the field. So it's an exciting start.
Yeah, an exciting start. And coming up after the break, we're going to talk about this Bills team and how they hope to get back on track against the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to stay in the picture.
Welcome
Mike,
back.
not a tie guy. Dan, where casual meets formal. A lot of, this is like people that have never been a part of the show.
Yeah.
Rusty, get a close-up on Dan's shoes, though.
What do you got?
Somebody was asking. Somebody was asking.
If you can.
Don't ever do
Don't
that
do
again.
that. Yeah. You can't because of the desk.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Bill should
They're
crush
nice
the
shoes.
Raiders. Love the broadcast.
Thank you.
That play by Benford has been highlighted all week.
Yeah.
Dan is right about Josh. Dan is never right. His level of wrongness simply waxes and wanes. This is good stuff. Why does everybody pick on poor Dan?
Oh,
Wow.
I know.
I still have
Are
more
you
than enough faith in Allen. I think that's nobody is sitting here saying Josh gave you that. He's still a top 3 quarterback in the entire football.
Jenna, how many times have we talked about the bar being raised, the goalpost being moved?
Absolutely.
It's Josh Allen. We're talking about him being down when he might be the 4th best quarterback in the NFL,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, it depends on how you judge it. Now, he didn't play like a top
Yeah.
15 quarterback on Monday. That's an aberration for him. I think it was one of the worst games, maybe the worst one he's played.
Yeah.
He doesn't, you mentioned, he doesn't usually do that back-to-back, but come on. We're not talking about Josh Allen not being the guy.
No, and LaShawn McCoy, I can't remember exactly what show he was on, but he was talking about the fact that, yeah, Josh had a bad game, but he still thinks Josh is a top 3, top 4 type of quarterback, and I think that sentiment is right.
A couple of the comments in O-line needs to play better.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about that. I know that's part of it.
You're doing that right.
I got Micah.
Yes,
okay.
yes,
I
yes.
just want to make sure.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, we'll be
All
right
right,
back.
we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. Dan, I want to talk to you because you were at practice this week for this Bills team. And what was the vibe up there or over there at Orchard
So I was
Park?
on the sidelines at MetLife on Monday. More of a more serious feel at practice. It was just a walkthrough on Wednesday. The team then practiced on Thursday. And this team is really good at understanding not letting one win or one loss cause another loss. And Micah Hyde was asked about, do you guys know that the sky is falling all around you in Buffalo this week?
100%. Yeah, if you go outside right now, you know that. But inside this building, inside our meeting rooms, weight room, practice field, all that type of stuff, we keep it level. That's how it's always been around here. We don't get too high, don't get too low. We understand that we kind of gave that game away. You can't really do that in the NFL. But you got to learn from it. You got to move on and we're excited about that. We are guaranteed to have another 16 games this year, and so, we're not going to trip over one.
Jenna didn't get my sarcasm there. We asked Micah if he understood that the sky is not falling. I agree. Well, a loss on Sunday as a 9.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
That would not be good.
Not great ball.
I will say, though, if we're going to talk about things, Brian Dable had the quote of saying, you can't let one loss turn into 2.
That's what I was trying to say, and I fumbled it.
Okay, okay. Well,
Josh Allen did.
we got there.
Hey.
Did you hear his joke?
Josh Allen did.
Oh, man. Well,
Wow.
Brian Dable had 2 losses in one game. Ooh, that was rough
that
for
was
him.
bad.
We'll
That
see
was
if they
not
bounce
great.
back. But that does happen. Hey, but here's the point I was going to make about that, too. He has that loss, right? They lose 40-0. Guess what? In the standings, it's 1 loss.
Yeah.
Right? You do have to do that. You have to move past it.
McDermott was asked about it. He's like, I've been around the league a long time. It's week 1. He goes, it's a good thing they don't put all 17 games in 1 week. That would be a lot.
Yeah, that'd be tough. That would be hard physically on a player.
Imagine not showing up that 1 week where you played all of your games.
It would be tough.
Yeah, that certainly would be tough. But no, this team needs to turn the page, obviously, and I feel like this is kind of the week and the opportunity against the Raiders for that to happen.
Yeah, well, we'll see what ends up happening in this game. A lot of people obviously disappointed what happened in week 1, but we move to week number 2. We move to the Raiders and the Bills, and our sponsor, Greg Connors, had his comments on what he thinks we will see as the teams get together in Orchard Park.
This Raiders game coming up on Sunday, it's home opener. You come off of a hard loss. You're on a short week, but you're in front of the Bills Mafia. You should win this game. So for me, that makes it a must-win. I've got the Bills 31, and I've got the Las Vegas Raiders 21.
So what he was referencing in part there, too, is you look at the Bills' schedule. There's a lot of difficult games. So, Greg's saying must win because you look and you go, man, we got Kansas City, you got Cincinnati, you got Philly, you got Dallas, you got all these teams.
Yeah.
There are games on the schedule, especially coming off a loss. You got to win.
Yeah.
And in this case, I think that's Sunday.
Well, I think, too, the vibes for Dan, that I think we talked. You joked earlier on in the show, it was either win or panic. And for this team, they're talented.
Yeah.
They can do that.
It would be panic.
It would.
We talk about how to bounce back. Josh Allen, Sean McDermott was asked after the game, are you worried about Josh Allen's confidence? And he said, yeah, you sometimes you worry about any player, any humans. Confidence is also a hell of a drug when you get it.
Yes.
And that's what they could use a little bit of.
Yeah.
Coming back on Sunday.
All right. Well, coming up after the break, we're going to give our picks and predictions and see if the Bills will be dancing after Sunday.
Short break. You guys missed Jenna was dancing during the break
I was
when the video was
dancing.
up.
Daryl, obviously big follower, likes our pass rush. I agree.
Yeah.
Special teams need to be better by Monkey Business. Talks about nobody ever talks about that team. Hey, I talk about it all the time. It's 1/3 of the game.
First of all, it's not 1/3 of the game.
It's 1/3 of the game.
Yeah,
It used to be.
yeah.
But I tell you what, the biggest thing about special teams is it really just takes one, right? I mean, it takes that.
Well, yeah,
and at
we
the end
saw
of the
it.
game, it ended the game. Now,
Yeah.
you know, there was a lot of other things leading. That is the least talked about game-winning play. One of the least talked about game-winning
That's
plays
fair.
I can ever remember, because all anybody was talking
Yeah.
about was everything that led to the overtime.
To that, yeah.
Rick wants to know middle linebacker talk. I think that Trell Bernard was fine. I thought he was efficient.
Yeah.
Nothing really terrified me.
Probably Rarick. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. I just learned it was called Rayo's sauce. No.
Yeah.
we learned that together.
Rouse.
Are you sure it's not Rouse?
No,
I think it's
definitely
Rayo's.
It's definitely Rayo's.
I don't know.
When Mike said that, I was like, that sounds...
Well, at least that's what I thought, but I could be wrong.
I heard a commercial. It's Rayo's.
We'll ask Rarick if you think so.
That's why you come here for the show.
Oh
And we
my
did get a lot of
gosh.
congratulations on 25,000.
Yes.
So if you're watching the show right now and
Thank
you
you.
haven't subscribed...
Yeah, I mean...
And if you enjoy the show and want to share it with someone
See,
you
Jenna's
think
too
would...
polite. Like, she takes, like, the good cop approach. Like, oh, if you want to, like, I take the bad cop approach.
Well,
of,
no,
like,
my thing
You
is...
click subscribe or I'm coming after you.
No, if you enjoy our content, subscribe. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with our picks. All right, welcome back, and it's time for our picks and predictions for this game. Dan, Bills fans are hoping for some positive news. What do you got? What are you thinking?
Yeah, hopefully there is positive news by the end of Sunday, but I'll be honest with you, this game, it does worry me. I know the Raiders as a whole aren't as talented of a team, but they have some guys that can ruin this game. Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and I'm worried about who is going to block Max Crosby. I think this game is a lot closer, more uncomfortable. Another week of that. Bills squeak out a win. I think maybe it's a late touchdown to actually get it. Lower scoring game than expected. I think a lot of people think it's going to go up and down the field. 23-20, not pretty, but it's a win.
Okay. Yeah, we are all 0-1 after picking the Bills in week 1. I have the Bills winning this game as well. I think that this is a Bills team that needs that bounce back effort. It's the home opener. You know, the crowd's going to be into it. And I think this Bills team, it's a little bit of desperation, honestly. Like, they are coming off a bad game. I think they have way more talent and way more production than what was shown against the Jets. And for that reason, I think this is a get-right game for this Buffalo team. They are the more talented team in this matchup. I have the Bills winning this one 21-16. Not exactly an offensive explosion, but at the same point, I think the Bills are going to be a lot more productive, a lot more efficient, and they come home with the win.
Yeah, you talk about get-right games. I would say most of the time that's talking about playing really well and looking like you're supposed to look. Get right is winning the game for this team right now. Get the win and move on. And the thing about early in the NFL season is the bad teams don't know they're bad yet, right? And I don't know if the Raiders will be bad. I think they have some talent. But they won their first game, and they're walking into Orchard Park saying, we got this one. 9.5-point underdogs, they're not worried about it. I think the Bills are the better team. I think they'll be a little more of a desperate team, and that's something to say in week number 2. I think the offense gets going to a point. Allen is better. Bills win the game. I have it 27-20 to get to 1-1.
All right, so we are all picking the Bills once again. They are favored in this matchup once again, so we'll have to see. And we want to remind everyone, be sure to check out the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We have our new promotion. Mike, myself, Dan Fetes, be sure to join us on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We are always talking Bills. We'll have our 10 takeaways from this Bills-Raiders game after the game as well. And we are always updating the channel throughout the week after going to practice and doing everything. So we always want to remind you, like, comment, and subscribe, and share with a friend if you enjoy our content as well. All right, Bills, Raiders, 1 o'clock, the home opener for Buffalo. For Dan Fetes and Mike Catalana, I am Jenna Cottrell. Thank you so much for watching Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris.